Welcome, I'm Tatiana Darzi. Over 100 countries stood up to the Chinese Communist Party at the 73rd World Health Assembly demanding an independent investigation into the CCP virus pandemic. The resolution calls to investigate the origins of the virus and how the WHO handled the pandemic. At the 73rd World Health Assembly, WHA, held on May 18th, more than 100 countries stood up to the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, demanding an independent investigation into the pandemic. Due to the pandemic caused by the CCP virus, also known as the novel coronavirus, member states were forced for the first time in history to hold the WHA by video conference. The WHA is the highest decision-making body within the World Health Organization, WHO, and meets once a year to determine policy directions. Australia, together with a coalition of supporters, drafted a resolution to call for an independent investigation into the origins of the CCP virus and the WHO's handling of the pandemic. The resolution is expected to pass on May 19th with the support of a 100-plus majority of the 190 member nations, including China. The draft of the resolution shows more than 100 country members, including 27 states in the European Union, 54 African nations, Britain, Canada, India, Indonesia, Japan, New Zealand, and Russia, supporting the resolution. China's allies, Russia and the bloc of African nations, attracted attention by supporting the resolution. Australia, the initiator of the investigation, first revealed in mid-April that it would push for the probe of the WHO, a move that sparked threats from the Chinese Communist Party. The CCP has since threatened steep tariffs on Australian barley, beef, and other products. Beef exports to China have been banned for 4 Australian suppliers. Foreign Minister Marise Payne indicated that the purpose of the investigation is to prevent the recurrence of such a pandemic in the future. She said, "This independent investigation of the pandemic has received positive support and it will help the world learn the necessary lessons to protect global health." The Chinese regime had been adamantly refusing an independent investigation into the pandemic. But just a few days ago, official state media outlets reported that the WHO was discussing sending a group into China to investigate. Then, the Chinese ambassador to the UK claimed that Beijing will welcome the WHO to conduct an investigation in Wuhan. Overseas independent media have reported that the CCP admitted to destroying virus samples in many laboratories in China at the early stage of the pandemic. Since the outbreak, the CCP's methods of diagnosing the confirmed cases of the virus have been changing time after time, and the official data has been overturned by the government itself. Now that the CCP has indirectly admitted to destroying the virus samples, the outside world is highly suspicious. CNN analyzes that as the WHA vote approaches and more countries sign the EU resolution, all of this may be out of the control of the CCP. Another event that has angered the CCP is the demands for various member states for Taiwan's participation in the World Health Assembly. Taiwan was invited to attend the WHA as an observer for 8 consecutive years, starting in 2009, but later stopped being invited after the pro-Beijing Chinese Nationalist Party lost power. Since 2016, Taiwan's invitation to the WHA has been blocked by the CCP. During the pandemic, Taiwan's reputation increased rapidly on the international stage due to its effective response and handling of the health crisis. Many countries are now supportive of Taiwan's goal to rejoin the WHO as an observer. On May 15, a spokesman of the Chinese Foreign Ministry publicly criticized those countries that supported Taiwan's participation in the WHO and predicted that the proposal would be firmly rejected by an overwhelming majority of the international community. However, the United States, Britain, and the European Union are among those who have expressed support for Taiwan's participation in the WHO. The U.S. State Department, the American Institute in Taiwan, AIT, and U.S. politicians have continued to speak out in support of Taiwan, taking the international stage to combat the pandemic. Both the UK's Foreign Office and the Department of Health and Social Care have supported Taiwan's attendance at the WHO as an observer and its participation on the WHO's technical meetings. In addition, Germany, Japan, France, New Zealand, Canada, Australia, and other countries sent a joint letter to the Director General of the WHO urging Taiwan to be invited to participate in the WHO conference as an observer. According to a Newsweek report, the CIA believes that China tried to prevent the WHO from alerting other countries about the CCP virus outbreak in January. The report states that CCP threatened to stop cooperating with the WHO's coronavirus investigation if the organization declared a global health emergency. Newsweek revealed on May 12 a recent report from the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency, CIA. The CIA believes China tried to prevent the World Health Organization from sounding the alarm on the coronavirus outbreak in January, a time when Beijing was stockpiling medical supplies from around the world, the report said. The report continued, China threatened the WHO that the country would stop cooperating with the agency's coronavirus investigation if the organization declared a global health emergency. According to Newsweek, 2 U.S. intelligence officials confirmed the contents of the report titled UN China, WHO Mindful but Not Beholden to China. The UK's Daily Mail reported on May 13 that the alleged delay came at a crucial time in January, as the virus was spreading around the world undetected and China was stockpiling medical equipment and protective gear made in the U.S. and elsewhere. According to data from the China's General Administration of Customs, Beijing imported 2.4 billion pieces of personal protective equipment between January 24th and February 29th, including more than 2 billion masks and 25.38 million pieces of protective clothing.
As of January 31st, there were at least 22 countries around the world outside of China with confirmed cases of Chinese Communist Party CCP virus. The spread had already reached 4 continents except Africa. At that time, the CCP already knew very well that a pandemic was inevitable. The CCP's frantic worldwide search for medical supplies was in fact a preparation for this major outbreak.
The CIA's report was the second from Western intelligence agencies related to the virus outbreak. Last week, the German weekly Der Spiegel reported on the German intelligence agency's assessment of the WHO and the role of the CCP. The report disclosed that on January 21st, China's leader Xi Jinping asked WHO chief Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus to hold back information about a human-to-human transmission and to delay a pandemic warning.
As we can see from mainland media's own reports, the CCP already knew well at the end of December of last year that the virus is capable of human-to-human transmission. And in early January, the CCP, already knew that this virus is highly similar to the SARS virus in terms of its infectivity and its mechanism when invading human cells. This means that the CCP's cover-up of this epidemic was malicious.
Germany's Federal Intelligence Service estimated that the world lost 4 to 6 weeks preparation time in fighting the virus because of the CCP's suppression of information.
The CCP, does things entirely from the standpoint of consolidating its own ruling power. It has never thought about whether such a cover-up could wreak havoc on the entire international society, which is why covering up the epidemic was its first choice.
The WHO dismissed the notion that Xi Jinping himself intervened, but declined to address specifically the question of whether Chinese officials made any effort to delay or change the announcement of a public health emergency of international concern, PHEIC, Newsweek reported. Xi stressed in his meeting with Tedros on January 28th that regarding this epidemic, I have been personally directing and deploying the epidemic prevention and control work. On December 31, 2019, the CCP made its first report to the WHO about the discovery of a novel coronavirus case in Wuhan. Later, the WHO followed the CCP's narrative, claiming to have found no clear evidence of human-to-human transmission of the virus. It was not until January 20th that the CCP finally admitted the virus could definitely transmit human-to-human, but the WHO refused to declare it a global public health emergency when it voted twice on the issue from January 22nd to 23rd. On January 30th, the WHO admitted to misjudging the outbreak and declared a global public health emergency. Tedros Adhanom fought hard to defend the CCP on that day, praising the CCP for its effectiveness in preventing the epidemic. Up until early February, the WHO had been opposing travel and trade restrictions adopted by countries to curb the spread of the epidemic. U.S. President Donald Trump has since publicly criticized the WHO as being the puppet of China, which led him to halt U.S. funding for the organization in mid-April. The CCP is now also facing growing international scrutiny as the world looks to hold the CCP accountable. Tang Jin-yuan also said that the reports from the Western intelligence agencies have proven that the pandemic was a man-made disaster caused by the CCP, which will give legal basis to international claims that aim to hold the CCP accountable. Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen posted a video on Facebook documenting the Taiwan model, a video showing how people came together to protect Taiwan from the CCP virus. Despite Taiwan's success and recognition in controlling the spread of the CCP virus, Taiwan was not invited to this year's World Health Assembly.
Despite receiving international recognition for their performance on epidemic control, Taiwan was still not invited to this year's World Health Assembly, WHA. On this issue, Taiwanese Minister of Health Chen Shih-chung expressed that the WHO needs Taiwan. President Tsai Ing-wen also visited the Central Epidemic Command Center prior to her inauguration and invited the epidemic control team to attend the ceremony. On the eve of May 20th, President Tsai Ing-wen personally visited the Central Epidemic Command Center to invite the National Epidemic Prevention Team to the inauguration ceremony. She also brought in 10 types of Tainan good noodles, a gift from Huang Wei-shi, the mayor of Tainan.
I brought in 10 kinds of Tainan good noodles to show my gratitude to you all. May our epidemic prevention efforts be exhaustive in all aspects. Everyone here is a hero in the hearts of our people. I think, in fact, this noodle should later on be called the hero's noodle.
In a video called The Taiwan Model, it says, "People who are honest are braver than those who deceive themselves." Tsai posted the video on Facebook on May 19th, documenting the Taiwan model in every part of society. Many unsung heroes hold fast to their posts. The government and the people stood united to together protect Taiwan. Though only 5 minutes long, the video has touched many netizens. The Taiwan model also received great international recognition. However, Taiwan was still not invited to the World Health Assembly this year.
The Secretariat of the WHO, under pressure, once again turned us down in inviting us to attend the WHA. I want to use this opportunity to seriously express my dissent. Taiwan will not give up its participation in international affairs just because it has been suppressed, and we will continue to work hard.
The WHO needs us. Many countries in the world, many leaders and representatives have said it is not about pleading for Taiwan to join the WHO, but that the WHO also needs Taiwan. Many people have seen the Taiwan model's success.
In reference to U.S. Secretary of Health Alex Azar's speech at the WHA in support of Taiwan's participation, Chen said that the health of 23 million people should never be sacrificed for politics, and that despite the fact that Taiwan has not been able to enter the WHA for more than 3 years, the world has seen Taiwan's efforts.
U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo on Wednesday congratulated Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen on her inauguration to a second term. Pompeo praised Tsai for her courage and vision and added that the partnership between the U.S. and Taiwan will continue to flourish.
The inauguration of the President of Taiwan was held on May 20th. U.S. Secretary of State Pompeo issued a statement 1 day earlier to congratulate Tsai Ing-wen on her upcoming second term. This is also the first time the U.S. Secretary of State has publicly congratulated the inauguration of a Taiwanese president. In the early morning of May 19th, the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, issued a statement on Twitter to congratulate Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen. Pompeo praised her courage and vision, writing, "Taiwan's vibrant democracy is an inspiration to the region and the world." He also believes that with President Tsai at the helm, the partnership between the U.S. and Taiwan will continue to flourish. The inauguration will start at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Taipei time, on the 20th with the swearing-in of President Tsai at the presidential office. After that, Tsai will give her inauguration speech at the Taipei Guest House. Experts believe that Pompeo's early congratulation and mention of Tsai Ing-wen as president show the unprecedented close relationship between the United States and Taiwan.
The relations between Taiwan and the United States have never been better. This is the best level of cooperation we've had between the two governments since before relations were terminated.
Pompeo said in the statement that the United States has long considered Taiwan a force for good in the world and a reliable partner, and that the recent COVID-19 pandemic provided an opportunity for the international community to see why Taiwan's pandemic response model is worthy of emulation.
Most countries have been very impressed with the way Taiwan has handled the pandemic in a very open, transparent, responsible, and competent way, unlike China, which is just the opposite in all those.
Over the past few months, the CCP has constantly exerted pressure on Taiwan through military harassment and other means. Experts believe that it is Beijing, not Tsai Ing-wen, who continues to challenge the status quo in the Taiwan Strait.
As long as President Trump is in office, they will discover that his administration will not tolerate that kind of intimidation and coercion. To attack Taiwan, you're going to be in a conflict with the United States. It could escalate into a major war. So don't even think of doing it.
Jan Jekielek, the host of American Thought Leaders, interviewed Bonnie Glick, the Deputy Administrator of the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID. Glick discusses how President Trump and his administration handled the pandemic versus how the WHO and China responded to the outbreak.
It's such a good and incredibly timely question, Jan. The United States and the Trump administration have come under a lot of criticism for the approach that the administration has taken vis-a-vis the World Health Organization. As we all saw from the president's letter to the head of WHO, Dr. Tedros, that was just released, it is clear that the United States took a very thoughtful approach to how it can and how it really should engage with the World Health Organization, which is an example of a UN agency. The president was very clear when he first announced that we were going to be freezing our funding to the World Health Organization as it related to the COVID-19 response, pending a review of the actions that were taken by the World Health Organization from the time that it became clear that there was an outbreak that was originating in Wuhan, China. And the president laid out in very clear terms the timeline of activity and, more significantly, lack of activity by the World Health Organization in terms of responding to the world in this, what became this global pandemic, at a cost, no doubt, of hundreds of billions of dollars and, more significantly, thousands and thousands of lives. So President Trump has laid out a very clear requirement that the WHO become more transparent in its dealings with the world community. And from our perspective at the U.S. Agency for International Development, this is a long time in coming, and we're very glad that this review was done. We are hit with a global pandemic. Well, WHO was quick to call this, relative to the Ebola situation, more expeditiously called this a public health emergency of international concern. But it still took its time in reaching that point and gave the Chinese government, the PRC, an opportunity to do terrible things like destroy samples so that the world could not get a handle on what the virology of this disease actually was in a timely manner. Again, at the cost of hundreds of billions of dollars and thousands of people's lives needlessly wasted. At the same time, we encouraged the head of WHO to invite Taiwan to observer status at the World Health Assembly. This is something that doesn't have to go through the UN. It doesn't have to be approved by UN member states. It's something that the head of WHO has the authority, and in fact, prior heads of WHO have exercised that authority to invite Taiwan as an observer to the World Health Assembly. Dr. Tedros opted not to do that.
To watch the entire video on American thought leaders, please visit the link below this video. The following charts show you the most recent numbers regarding the CCP virus pandemic. The Chinese Communist Party's cover-up led to a pandemic that now threatens the lives of people around the globe. With over 5 million people infected, China is still defensive about independent international inquiry into the origin and spread of the CCP virus. The Epoch Times has initiated a global Sign the Petition campaign calling for investigating, condemning, and rejecting the CCP. We believe that investigating and exposing the truth is the only way that we can remain safe. Let's take action. Sign the petition at ccpvirustruth.com. That's all for today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this program with friends and family to keep them informed about the latest news and updates. Thank you for joining me. See you next time.